Well, hello there. Welcome to Prime Minister's Questions. We're going to kick off. I'm going to be stopping this because I realised that I do actually talk over a lot of the stuff that goes on. So I'm going to try and stop it as I go. So here we go. Let's kick it off. There's old Lindsay there, looking awesome, looking very dapper. Hello to all the people in the chat. We've got Plum Duff and Duke Vengeance and Mad Monk and Anya. So on we go.
Sir Stephen Timms.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Undertaker.
Question number one.
Undertaker. Question number one. It's list of engagements.
Mr. Speaker, I know the House will join the nation and the Commonwealth in sending our very best wishes to their Majesties, the King and Queen, ahead of the Parliament. This will be a moment of extraordinary national pride, a demonstration of our country's character, and an opportunity to look to the future in the spirit of service, unity, and hope. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Why do they always say this?
Mr. Speaker, at question time last week, column 725, the Prime Minister referred to record numbers of people in work. In fact, as he knows, the number of people in work at the moment is still less than it was just before the pandemic, 122,792 less, according to the latest official figures.
I'm an Undertaker.
Will he reassure the House that he's not slipping into the bad ways of his predecessor but one? And will he properly correct the incorrect statement he made last week?
Mr. Speaker, that clarification has already been made, Mr. Speaker, in Hansard, but there are near record numbers of people in work and in payroll, and that is thanks to the actions of this government, Mr. Speaker, one record we're very proud of.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Non-compliant hand car washes seem like a cheap and quick way to have our cars washed. But unfortunately, behind this £1.8 billion industry is hidden money laundering, fraud, drug dealing, prostitution, labour abuse, modern-day slavery.
Let Harry out from under the stairs, Dursley.
This is an estimated £500 million lost in tax revenue, a pull factor for illegal migration, and the pollutants often used are damaging to the environment. Does the Prime Minister agree with me? But it's time that we now step away from the voluntary scheme and have a mandatory scheme to protect people.
Mr. Speaker, we expect all businesses to follow the law, including providing fair pay and working conditions for their employees. We're tackling exploitation in the labour market, especially by increasing funding for enforcement bodies to over £35 million a year, and we will continue to keep the position of hand car washes under close review.
Now comes the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Okay, now it's the main event. Come on. Knock him
Thank
dead,
you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Prime Minister in his comments about the coronation? Across the House, we're all looking forward to the celebrations this weekend. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister know how many mortgage payers are paying higher rates since the Tory party crashed the economy last autumn?
Mr. Speaker, our record on home ownership is crystal clear.
Our record is
90% of first-time buyers now don't pay any stamp duty at all. Mr. Speaker. And last year we saw the largest number of people buying their first home in 20 years, Mr. Speaker. That's a Conservative government delivering on people's aspirations to own their own home.
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, the question was how many people are paying more on their mortgages each month. And the answer that the Prime Minister avoided giving is 850,000. Nearly 1 million people paying more on their mortgage each month because his party used their money as a casino chip. That's why George Osborne called them economic vandals who created a self-inflicted financial crisis. Not for the Prime Minister and his non-dom thing, not for the super wealthy they gave tax cuts to, but for mortgage holders all across the country. So, does the Prime Minister know how many more people will be joining them on higher mortgage rates by the end of this year?
Tory sex be like, have you brought any protection? And they're like, yeah, I put in non-dom.
Mr. Speaker, thanks to the actions we're taking. In fact, the Bank of England is showing that public expectations of inflation have now eased to a 15-month low, Mr. Speaker.
Public expectations, not reality, just public expectations.
Invaded Ukraine, and because of our stewardship of the public finances, we can see a clear way.
You mean the
to
40 billion that your idiot predecessor cost, the one who got beaten by the letters?
The former Labour shadow chancellors. We know that our plans will deliver lower inflation and lower interest rates, but we know that his plans just mean more debt, Mr. Speaker. And I quote, year after year after year. Those aren't my words. That's the assessment of the former Labour shadow chancellor.
Mr. Speaker, the question was how many more people this year are going to be paying more on their mortgages? And the answer that he avoided giving again, he knows these answers. He's got the stats there in front of him. 930,000 people. So by the end of this year, I know they don't want to talk about it, that's why he won't answer the questions. By the end of this year, nearly 2 million homeowners, counting the cost of the Tories' economic vandalism with every mortgage payment they make. And it's not just those who already own their home that are counting the cost of Tory recklessness. The average deposit for a first-time buyer is going up to £9,000. Does he even know how long it would take an average saver to put that sort of money aside?
£9,000.
Mr. Speaker, that's
he earns that in a minute.
Mr. Speaker,
he earns that in a minute.
Introduced a 95% mortgage guarantee scheme, Mr. Speaker. It's why we're helping people in social housing own their own home through our first homes and our shared home ownership schemes. But, Mr. Speaker, I said these things are working because I said last year we had a record number of first-time buyers, the highest number in 20 years. It was, Mr. Speaker, twice the number of first-time buyers than Labour ever managed, Mr. Speaker.
What?
So whilst Labour failed homeowners, the Conservatives are delivering for them.
What are you talking about, you crazy idiot?
Mr. Speaker, every week, whatever the topic, he stands there and pretends everything is fine across the country.
Yeah.
And every week he does so, he reinforces just how out of touch he is. £9,000, ha ha ha, £9,000 would take 4 years. They think it's funny that 4 years for the average saver to save £9,000. Or to put it a different way, in terms the Prime Minister will understand, roughly the annual bill to heat his swimming pool. But for most people, 4 more years of scrimping is a hammer blow to their ambitions. And now he's kicking them when they're down, because his decision to scrap housing targets is killing the dream of home ownership for a generation. Why doesn't he admit he got it wrong and reverse it?
Mr. Speaker, I promised to put local people in control of new housing. And I'm proud that that's what I delivered within 6 weeks of becoming Prime Minister. Now, he wants to impose top-down housing targets. He wants to concrete over the green belt and ride roughshod over local communities. Now, previously, Mr. Speaker, he did say, he's on record and saying, local people, local communities should have more power, more control.
Defend your handling of the economy.
Just another in a long list of broken promises.
What broken promises? He's not in power. You are the people in power.
Given to local communities not to build houses. And we know why he won't change course. He admitted it last month. His councillors simply don't want to build the houses local people need, so he's given them a way out. Picture the scene as he explains this to a family. Mum and Dad paying £4,000 extra on the mortgage because the Tories tanked the economy. Their eldest paying hundreds more in rent. Their youngest still stuck in the spare room because they need an extra £9,000 for a deposit. Then along comes the Prime Minister and merrily tells them, sorry for crashing the economy, we don't want to talk about that. Sorry I can't help you with the house building, but my councillors don't like it. Oh, and before I go, here's a massive council tax increase for your troubles. Why doesn't he stop the excuses, stop blaming everyone else, and just build some houses instead?
Mr. Speaker, our memories on that short. We all know what happened last time when they were in power. There was no money left for the country.
There's this joke about there being no money left.
Let's talk about
loads
the
of money
record.
left.
Let's talk
the
about
NHS
the
was
Labour
in the
record
best
on
form
house
it's ever
building,
been.
Mr. Speaker. In London,
Schools
the
were
former
doing
Conservative
great.
mayor built 60,000
There were potholes in every
affordable
single
homes
road.
in his first 5 years in office. How many did the current Labour mayor manage? Half of that, Mr. Speaker. In Wales, we need 12,000 new homes a year. How many have Labour built in the last year? Half of that, Mr. Speaker. As ever, Labour talk and the Conservatives deliver.
And they've built half of them.
Mr. Speaker.
Their party have made like way more than that across the country.
Debt doubled since 2010, growth down, tax up, the economy crashed. Mr. Speaker, they're going to need a bigger note. And it's right. But week after week, we debate the issues facing in this place. But looking beyond the elections tomorrow, we also have a hugely significant weekend coming up with the King's coronation. For most, this will be the first time they've seen a monarch crowned. And I hope, and I know across the House, people will hope that people across the country enjoy the ceremony, the street parties, and of course the extra day off. 300 million will tune in. The world will see our country at its best, celebrating the beginning of a new chapter in our history. But it will also be a reminder of the loss of our late Queen, Elizabeth II, and a chance again to remember all that she gave to our country
and the fact
through
that
her dedicated
Rees-Mogg
service.
lied to the Queen.
So will the Prime Minister join me in honouring our late Queen and wishing the new King a long and happy reign?
Mr. Speaker, as I said at the outset, we're all looking very much forward to the coronation. It will be a very special moment in the history of our country, and I know that we will join with the country in celebrating it. But before we get to the coronation weekend, Mr. Speaker, we have an important day tomorrow, and the choice before the country is clear. When they go to that ballot box, they can see a party that stands for higher council tax, higher crime, and a litany of broken promises, Mr. Speaker. Meanwhile, we're getting on with delivering what we say with lower council tax, lower crime, and fewer potholes. The choice is clear. Vote Conservative, Mr. Speaker.
Fewer potholes. You're the party that's given us a failing NHS, a failing education system, and potholes in every road.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Labour run Kirklees Council, Mr. Speaker, as you know, have reneged on a deal to house the National Rugby League Museum at the George Hotel. They've also declared a climate emergency, but they have one of the worst recycling rates in the country. They're building on green fields and now on green belts.
It's all about
They're demolishing home firth indoor markets.
We're
blighted by litter and fly tipping, and now they're proposing to chop down mature trees in urban areas. Does Mr. agree with me?
No, you'll sit down a moment. I presume you're going to ask a question. You've made a great statement. Quick question.
Does the Prime Minister agree with me that local people can have their say on Kirklees' appalling record by voting Conservative this week?
Somehow. Yeah, because the Tories have done such a great job in local councils around the country.
It's typical
the ones that
Labour
went
saying
bankrupt.
one thing and doing the other, Mr. Speaker. It's only the Conservatives
we took money
that are
from the
protect
deprived in
Green
their
Belt.
areas
It's the
and
Labour
gave them
Party
to
they're going
places
to
that have
concrete
affluence,
over it.
said
And that's
Rishi
why in
Sunak
Kirklees and
to
elsewhere,
the
tomorrow,
people who
vote
live in the
Conservative, Mr.
places
Speaker.
where people are affluent.
We now come to the leader of the SNP, Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, in 2010, David Cameron convinced Nick Clegg to drop his pledge on university tuition fees. Does the Prime Minister intend to take the credit for convincing the leader of the Labour Party to do likewise?
It's Prime Minister's questions. It's Prime Minister's questions. Why are you going after? Look at him. Look how happy he is. Oh, thanks, SNP.
Prime Minister.
Why? I
No one else see how serious it is to get the Tories out.
I'd say it's hard to keep up, Mr. Speaker, with a list of broken promises. What I would say
List of broken
on
promises.
fees is
You are
I'm proud
in
that
power.
Under this government, we now have a record number of people that are going to university from disadvantaged backgrounds, Mr. Speaker.
That was something that Labour set up 20 years ago. That was a target that Labour set up.
Fulfill their aspirations alongside
You did your best to
fantastic
wreck.
new apprenticeships in every part of our country.
Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of any doubt, the Liberal Democrats don't believe in abolishing tuition fees. The Conservatives don't believe in abolishing tuition fees. And of course, the Labour Party, now with their own Nick Clegg moment, don't believe in abolishing tuition fees either. But, Mr. Speaker, is it not the case that the main Westminster parties don't offer young people any hope at all, do they?
Actually, I gently point out to the honourable gentleman that if you're from a disadvantaged background, you're far more likely to go to university in England than you are in Scotland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner in Dorset has delivered 174 new police officers. He's quadrupled the rural crime team and has made Dorset the 6th safest county. As recorded crime is 34% higher under Labour police and crime commissioners, does the Prime Minister agree with me that only Conservatives can be trusted to keep local communities safe and make sure offenders face the justice they deserve?
Mr. Speaker, honourable friend is right. It's a simple statement of fact. Crime is lower in areas which have Conservative police and crime commissioners. And
crime is lower in affluent areas. Crime is lower in affluent areas. Affluent areas are more likely to vote Tory. Everything else is white noise.
Know that it will be treated seriously and with all urgency.
Caroline Lucas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. His government's vile and immoral refugee ban bill and the toxic language coming from the Home Office isn't even dog whistle politics. It is a giant, hard-right foghorn blasting out a poisonous them and us narrative. And it plumbed new depths last week when the Home Office Minister claimed that people trying to come to the UK, and I quote, tend to have completely different values to those in the UK. Can he explain what he thinks are so different about the values held by the people of war-torn Sudan? And can he tell us what values are stopping him from creating a Sudanese family visa scheme like he did for the people of Ukraine?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this country has a proud history of welcoming almost 500,000 refugees over the past several years, and we will always continue to do so. But our ability to do that is absolutely hampered when we have tens of thousands of people illegally crossing the channel every year. And it's precisely because we want to help the most vulnerable people, whether they be in Syria and Afghanistan, Sudan and elsewhere. We must get a grip of this problem, break the cycle of the criminal gangs and target
You are the criminal gang. The Tory party is the criminal gang. You are people traffickers
Conservative government and 1.8 million
and facilitators of people traffickers.
The Conservative-led Solihull Council is getting on with regenerating Kingshurst Village Centre, creating space for new businesses and new homes. But when it comes to economic regeneration, none of the opposition parties have a viable plan. Not the Greens, not the Lib Dems, and not the Labour Party. And the Labour candidate has gone so far as to scare local people into thinking that the development won't go ahead, despite spades in the ground. So does the Prime Minister agree with me, while the opposition talk down opportunity and the creation of jobs, when it comes to investing in our communities, it's only the Conservative-led Solihull Council that can do
Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend, and I'm so glad to see the local Conservatives delivering for the people of Solihull with dozens of new family homes, new flexible commercial space, and a new integrated health, social care and community hub. As he said, it's clear for his local area, only the Conservatives can deliver.
Alan Brown.
Mr. Speaker, imagine seeing the car in front of you swerving erratically or suddenly braking for no reason, risking your car slamming into the back of that, endangering those daft enough not to wear seat belts. Now, this is not the actions of a drunk or reckless driver, but my constituents' experience using Tesla in autopilot mode. Software still in beta phase, but deemed suitable for cars on our public roads.
He's
Will the
making
Prime
a point
Minister
here,
meet with
which
me
I agree
to
with.
discuss the issues with Tesla's autopilot and instigate an urgent, critical safety review in terms of its suitability for operation and the licensing of it.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry to hear about what happened to the honourable member's constituent. I'll ensure that he gets a meeting with the Transport Secretary to discuss the safe regulation of autonomous and self-driving vehicles.
Labour-run City of Lincoln Council has destroyed the 40-year reputation of our city's Christmas market and the Christmas cheer that Lincoln benefits from annually. The dereliction of their role, choosing to take the easiest option behind closed doors in secret, in cancelling the market, shows Labour's neglect and disregard for small local businesses, charities and voters. Labour councillors in Lincoln should be ashamed of their actions. Have rightfully been likened to the Grinch.
Order. Mr. Brennan. I don't need you shouting from the back row.
I've
always offered a
get on with it!
Side, but it's equally opportunity for you to take one. Come on, Carmen.
Do you want a cup of tea?
I thank the member from the opposite side.
Would you like a cup of tea? Anyone want a cup of tea? It's like the Mrs. Doyle.
Tomorrow the people of Lincoln will have the chance to remove.
I will not count on that.
Tomorrow the people of Lincoln will have the chance to remove from office the anti-business, socialist Scrooges and elect local Conservatives. Does my right honourable friend the Prime Minister agree with me that for better run local services, business-friendly and support...
Order. I think in fairness to Prime Minister, I think the text went out. I think he's got the answer. Come on, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I share my honourable friend's disappointment that after a decision taken by the Labour-run council behind, as he said, closed doors, there will no longer be a Christmas market in Lincoln, ending its 40 years of history. Lincoln deserves better, and I urge the people of the city to vote Conservative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ahead of tomorrow's local elections, I've been campaigning in Medway and Swindon. The word on the doorstep is that people are ready for a change and will be switching their votes from the Conservatives to Labour. However, I am concerned that only 4% of those without valid ID have applied online for a voter authority certificate. So will the Prime Minister commit to a post-election review of how many people have effectively been disenfranchised by his government's response to the virtually non-existent problem of voter fraud?
Mr. Speaker, 98% of people already possess a suitable form of voter ID, and the government made available free alternative ID for those that do not have it. The pilots have demonstrated it hasn't significantly impacted turnout, and indeed, this was a policy that was introduced by the Labour Party in Northern Ireland all those years ago.
Yeah, because it had to be introduced in Northern Ireland because there was a problem with voter fraud there. We don't have a problem with voter fraud in this country, Rishi Sunak, you lying little fraud who nobody voted for.
Mr. Speaker, since getting elected in 2019, I've been inundated with correspondence from my constituents in South West Hertfordshire, rightly complaining about huge speculative developments on our beautiful Greenbelt land. Lib Dem controlled Three Rivers District Council continue to dither and delay their local plan. Does he agree with me that the choice tomorrow is simple? Vote Conservative to protect our Greenbelt, or vote Lib Dem for massive developments on sport land?
What are you talking about? Unspoiled land. You are the party of massive grouse farms where you drain peat bogs for grouse moorlands. You can shoot some birds. Thousands of acres of British soil just wasted. British soil that could be used for wildflowers, for the bees, or for trees to produce CO2, or for farming. No, grouse.
Dental appointment, my constituent Ray was forced to go private. It was then discovered that he had a large aggressive tumour in his face and jaw, which required 16 hours of gruelling surgery to remove it. If he hadn't been able to afford it, Ray might not be with us now. This is yet another chapter in the horror story that is the decay of dentistry under this government's watch. So will the Prime Minister accept NHS dentistry is in crisis, and will he meet with me and the British Dental Association to ensure that no one loses their life because they couldn't get a dental appointment? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry to hear what happened to the honourable lady's constituent.
You don't care.
And that's why the NHS has recently reformed dental contracts to improve access. We now invest over £3 billion a year. There are over 500 more dentists working in the NHS this year than last year.
Kids to get braces.
And indeed,
they could wait 2 years for the NHS or pay £5,000 £1,000
the NHS around dentistry, and DHSC is planning to outline further reform measures in the near future.
Sir Geoffrey Clifton Blow.
Every single young person that gets on the housing ladder under a Conservative government makes our communities more sustainable. Would my right honourable friend agree that in order to build the right kind of housing and speed it up, we need to fund planning authorities properly through innovative funding?
Screw the young.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my honourable
Fill
friend
the
Azza makes
rivers
an
full
excellent
of
point,
shit.
and that's why
We
the
are the
reforms
Tory
that we
party.
introduce will provide incremental resources to planning authorities to make sure that planning decisions can be taken
sewage,
quicker, but also
effluent,
we've strengthened the ability of local communities to put in
used
place local
condoms,
plans. Mr.
used
Speaker, this is the
tampons,
best way for
wet
our
wipes,
towns, cities, villages to
all of
have
it,
control over
straight
development in
into
their
the
area and
sewers.
make
Sorry,
sure that
straight
it
from
happens
the
in the way
sewers
that they're comfortable
into our
with,
rivers
and I know that
and
he's supportive of that too.
Thanks to the
Very much,
Tories.
Mr. Speaker. The recent
Untreated
ITV
sewage.
documentary Life and Debt Stories from the Edge followed Halifax mum, Izzy. Her prepayment energy bills have tripled and she was relying on a local primary school, Ash Green, who are providing free breakfast, budget cooking classes and a hardship fund for their families. When head teacher Mungo Shepherd is asked does he worry about the children at his school when he goes home at night, he says all the time, it never leaves you. Does the Prime Minister think it's right that things are so bad that schools are having to become the fourth emergency service for the families that this?
Well, Mr. Speaker, because of the actions we've taken, a typical family, including those like Izzy's, will be seeing half of their energy bills paid for by the government. That is support worth £1,500 extended in the most recent budget. For the most vulnerable in our society, there's additional support, £900 for those on welfare, Mr. Speaker, and through the holiday activity and food programme, support for families with the cost and support for food during the holidays. But I would also say, for Izzy and others that are in particular need, they should talk to their council because the Chancellor has provided over £1 billion of funding to the Household Support Fund. It's there to help families like that that need a little bit of extra assistance during this time.
Sir John Whittingdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my honourable friend will be aware, today is World Press Freedom Day. At a time when the need for professional and factual journalism has never been greater, my honourable friend reaffirmed the government's commitment to defending media freedom worldwide, and will he redouble the efforts of the government to obtain the release of Evan Gershkovich and Vladimir Kara-Murza in Russia and of Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong?
Mr. Speaker, the government is committed to defending media freedom worldwide because thriving independent journalism is one of the cornerstones of democracy. We absolutely condemn the politically motivated sentencing of journalists across the world, and our embassies and missions work every day to protect media freedom where they are based. And I know that this is something that my right honourable friend has been a right champion of throughout his career, and I will look forward to him continuing to do so from a different perch as I take rather fewer questions from him over the next few months from this position.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank our police forces, who I know will be working hard across the country this weekend to support the coronation events. But police numbers in the North East are down 8% since 2010, and I know the Prime Minister's keen on his maths, so here's a sum. If Northumberland Police has lost 1,000 police officers since 2010, but gained the funding to put back 615, by how much have the Conservatives shortchanged the North East?
Yes! Good question.
So, Mr. Speaker, as we saw last week, there are now a record number of police officers across the country thanks to the actions of this government, and crime is 50% lower than it was when we took office. She talks about investing in the North East.
Certain types of crime?
When we
What are you
invested
talking
Levelling Up
about?
Fund in her constituency,
more
£20
like
million.
financial crime
She
and-
said it
and
was
fraud.
transformational, Mr. Speaker.
Suddenly
She
the
said it
numbers
would
go
play an
down somehow.
important role in rejuvenating her
the guy who
local area.
allows
That's this
99
Conservative
out of
government
100
delivering not
rapists
just
to
for the
go
North
free.
East, but for her
99
constituents
out
too.
of 100 people who have sexually assaulted a woman.
I was pleased to welcome the Secretary of
But he
State
knows
for
what a woman
Transport
is.
to Newsham recently.
He just doesn't care if
This
they
was
get
to see
raped.
the progress on the Northumberland line. Would my right honourable friend agree with me that this Conservative government and Conservative government only is committed to
He looks like
development of this
the
line,
Ford
keeping Lebanon
from
on
the
track?
from the birds.
Well,
got it on
Mr.
with the
Speaker,
hand.
my honourable friend has been a fantastic champion for the restoration of this line. Indeed, it was one of the first deliveries from the Restoring Your Railways Fund, and it will be fantastic for his local communities because that
restoring the railways that the Conservatives took away in the 1960s.
Particularly for young
restoring the
people in his
railways
local area.
that the
Years, if not
Conservatives
decades of
took
neglect,
away.
It's this Conservative government
neglect.
that is delivering for the people
Decades
in
of
his local
neglect.
area.
The last 31 years,
Thank you,
sorry,
Mr. Speaker.
31 of the last
3.6
44 years have been under the
million
Tory
women
government.
born in the
And he talks about
1950s
decades
had
of
their
neglect.
pension age increased without their knowledge. And many, like my constituent, unknowingly gave up work at 60, only to realise they had no income, they couldn't pay their bills, and some have even lost their homes. So my constituent asks the Prime Minister today, will he commit to the fair and fast payment of any compensation that is recommended by the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman to 1950s women for the injustice they have suffered due to maladministration by the Department for Work and Pensions?
The thing about space...
Mr. Speaker, this issue has been long discussed in this place.
The thing about black holes
lady
is...
knows there's an ongoing process which I can't comment on, but rest assured, of course, we will respond appropriately to any recommendations that come our way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As Asbestos Awareness Month comes to a close, I would like to draw the attention of the Prime Minister to the dangers of asbestos in workplace buildings.
I was not aware of
Please
asbestos
will you
awareness.
back the Don't Let the Dust Settle campaign from the Mesothelioma UK charity in my constituency by setting up a register of all workplaces in the country that contain asbestos and determine a timetable of eradication of this terrible substance.
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I thank my honourable friend for raising this important issue? The law does require duty holders to assess whether asbestos is present, what condition it is in, and whether it gives rise to a risk of exposure. And they must draw up a plan to manage this risk, which must include removal if it can't be safely managed where it is located. But I commend her for her continued campaigning on this important issue.
You're lying.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Nick swims regularly in the Thames at Shepperton.
It's true.
But after a recent dip, he found himself hospitalised with cellulitis for 13 days. His doctors think this was caused by polluted water. Mr. Speaker, what caused that polluted water? Well, because Thames Water dumped filthy sewage just days earlier nearby. So can the Prime Minister tell Nick and everybody else, why does he think it's okay for water companies to keep polluting our rivers for another 25 years?
Yeah, why is it okay? The Tory sewage party, here you go, here's the answer.
It was just last week that it was clear there's only one party that's going to protect the environment, and it's the Conservative Party.
Mr. Speaker, when are you going to stop putting shit in our rivers? How is putting shit in our rivers protecting the environment, mate? How is that protecting our environment? Literally putting sewage into our rivers, effluent, human excrement into our rivers. Hypocrisy? Where's the hypocrisy here? Our sewage used to be treated. We never had the levels of pollution we have under the Tories.
Abbott
Tories
face
sewage
hosepipe
pollution
bans
party.
after torrential spring storms and asking me why water catchment plans have not prevented this. Reservoirs, desalination plants and other natural catchment structures require siting where geography and geology allows. Is there a national strategy and implementation plan to increase water catchment and enable cross-water company water transfer to match regional demand to supply?
Yes. Well, Mr. Speaker, water companies publish water resources management plans which show how they will continue to provide a secure supply of water for customers. And I understand that they have been consulting on their latest drafts of these plans. And in my honourable friend's particular area of Devon and Cornwall, where temporary use bans are in place, DEFRA and the water regulators are closely working with South West Water to ensure that the company is taking all appropriate precautionary action to ensure that water supplies remain resilient this year.
That's all for now on Prime Minister's questions.
That's all for Prime Minister's questions. Cut the sound immediately while everyone buggers off. Right, I'm going to grow. What time is it? It's 37 minutes past. Look at this. I can have the benches emptying out behind me. That's quite cool, isn't it? And then what I'll do is I'll just get rid of that. We don't need that. Oh, hang on. What's going on? That's not the background I want. Oh, okay. I see. Sorry, you gotta give me a minute because obviously things have changed because I don't have the chat. There you go. Look, just emptied. I emptied the benches out. Oh, that was a good little sound effect, wasn't it? I emptied the benches out from Parliament. Take that, Parley people. Yeah, come on, Parley people. So that was Prime Minister's questions. I thought that Rishi Sunak was crap, as always. Didn't answer a single question. When he was asked about why is there so much shit in our rivers, he said the Tories are really good at protecting the environment, which they are demonstrably not. In fact, I think that everything he said in that Prime Minister's questions was a lie. I also feel like Keir Starmer didn't really step up to the plate. Again, his questions were kind of boring and didn't really hit anything for me. I mean, I've just resigned myself to never owning a house in this country. That's just the way it is for people in my generation and the generations to come. Yeah, great. Thanks for that, you Tory scum. Yeah, and then he stands there boasting about how many houses he's built and all this wonderful stuff that they've done. And he says, oh, we've built loads of houses. And it's like, but you haven't. I mean, if you have, you've sold them privately. You're not building any social housing. We've had a housing crisis now for years. Over a decade, we have had a housing crisis in this country. And it was completely created by the Tories. And happily, it is what will destroy the Tory party, because people under the age of 40 are becoming more left-wing rather than less left-wing as they get older, because they don't have the security, the financial security and the fear of losing their knickknacks, which is what usually keeps people in line and keeps them voting for the Conservatives. 24-hour parlay people. Yeah. By the way, if you ever watch the movie 24-Hour Party People with Steve Coogan, directed by Michael Winterbottom, I am actually in that movie, in the scene in the Hacienda at the end. You won't be able to spot me, but I am in the Hacienda. They recreated the Hacienda in a warehouse in Ancoats, Greater Ancoats in Manchester. And yeah, and I'm also in the bit where they've got the Happy Mondays playing live, I think, and I'm in the crowd jumping up and down. Anyway, that was filmed in the Apollo in Manchester, and what they did was they only had like a small crowd. So I think they digitally reproduced us, you know, like in Star Wars, where they made it look like there were loads of people in the crowd, but actually it was just a Photoshop of just repositioning everyone. Anyway, doubling up. I mean, not repositioning. Duke Vengeance. I mean, there isn't much point in asking any elaborate questions that the non-PM can just stand there and lie. What's the point of PMQs if he can just stand there and lie? I don't know. It came across as a party political broadcast for the Conservative Party in which he just lied. He just made stuff up. Every time someone asked him a question, he said, "Well, never mind that. Aren't the Tories amazing at everything always?" Came across as like one of those annoying mothers who, or maybe fathers, who go on and on about how great their kids are. You know the ones. Tommy did very well at his GCSEs. He got 17 A stars. He really did, or 9s or whatever it's called now. That Dominic Cummings took over the Department for Education and changed everything. So when you're doing your GCSEs, it's 1 to 9, and then when you do your A levels, it's A, B, C, D, A star, and then when you go to university, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3. Yeah, great. Well done, everyone. So in university, 1 is good. Yeah, but for GCSEs, 1 is very bad. Yeah, very bad. The worst you can possibly do. And then in the A levels, which are called sixth form still. Yeah, but you go from year 11 into sixth form. Yeah, that makes no sense. It made sense when the year before sixth form was year 5 or fifth form. Now it makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, but we still call it that because, hey, we like mixing up our weird systems to confuse, I don't know, everybody. Anyway, they literally have no defense. It's quite funny. That's completely true, Master Templar there. And he said stuff that no one can relate to and ask, have you though? I don't see it. Indeed. I knew I'd seen you before. What else, says Wes G? I just crop up in the background of things. Graham, you're more handsome than George Michael. Nah, piss off. I'm not more. Come on, be sensible. George Michael was a honey. I was just happy to get 70% on modules. Yeah, I mean that in university will get you an a 9. No, a first. It's confusing, isn't it? That was a system that was put in place by Dominic Cummings and Michael Gove, 2 people who went to private school to make all the schools that aren't private do this crazy national curriculum stuff. Don't forget, private schools don't have to follow the national curriculum, and they don't have to be inspected by Ofsted. They can choose. They can say, look, we don't want to be inspected by Ofsted because we don't want to be. And also, they can abuse children, not legally, but if they get caught out doing it, the school doesn't close down. Which I don't understand. It's a private enterprise. if there were lots of children being abused in a McDonald's somewhere, that McDonald's would be shut down. I'm pretty sure that McDonald's would be shut down. I'm pretty sure. I don't know for certain, but it would go, oh well, it was just a manager, a junior manager, and although we all knew about it and didn't say anything, you can't really blame the institution that it all happened in, that had given the care of these poor children to these monsters. But yeah, private schools. Anyway, Starmer is unable or unwilling to take the people that need to be taken on. Yeah, I know. It's just not enough, is it? And there's a part of me that just wants to go back to the boring arse days of politics when it was really tedious and it was like Starmer's politics. It was just like, I made a witty quip. I did this little thing because there's a bit in the movie Jaws, which is like 50 years old now. Yeah, go at the times. It was a funny bit, and he says we're going to need a bigger boat. So I thought we're going to need a bigger moat. Vote. Scrote, I don't know, something that magic boat would be hilarious. Yeah, it's a bit, it comes across, when one of your mates gets married and decides that for some reason they get someone who's not funny to be their best man. Yeah, and you have to sit there for like 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes while this best man tells a bunch of really tedious stories and terrible, terrible jokes with terrible timing. That's what he comes across as. It's like, so what happened with your best man? Oh, well, the person that wanted to be best man got COVID, so unfortunately I had to get him in instead. All right. Vendetta, I can't say that. I can't say Vendetta's comment out loud. But there is a lot of abuse that goes on in private schools, not just from the children to each other, bullying and all that kind of stuff, but also from the teachers, that has been swept under the carpet in a lot of circumstances, in places where it has been exposed, like Ampleforth, where James O'Brien went to, where there was a man who literally was a serial abuser of children. And the school is still going. And the school still makes loads of money for the people who run the school every year, even though it's a not for profit. Not for profit, but you can take as much wages out as you like. I mean, come on. You've got to get paid. All the schools around here that have Ofsted outstanding rating haven't been inspected in years. They also happen to be in affluent areas, whereas schools with equivalent or better exam results are given lower ratings and regularly inspected. Yes, and the person in charge of Ofsted went to a private school, which don't need to be inspected. And absolutely crazed, just sadistic indifference to the fact that a head teacher killed herself recently because of fear of an upcoming Ofsted report. A one-word report on the whole school. Seriously, the strain that we put people under, the pressure we put people under in this country, unless you're very rich, and then you don't have to worry. Money doesn't buy you happiness. That is true. But you know what it does? It is a great stress reliever. It is a fantastic reliever of stress, because the things that most of us have to worry about, you don't have to worry about. Hey, my kid needs braces. That's fine. I've got £5,000 down the back of the couch, burning a hole in my pocket. I'll go and get them braces tomorrow. Everyone else has to wait for 2 years. 2 freaking years. Oh, but it's only £4,000 if you get the train track braces. If you want the invisible ones, yeah, that's £5,000. £5,000. So what we'll do is we'll wait till, I don't know, you're sort of 13, 14, maybe 15 years old, and you're trying to become the person that you will be for the rest of your life, and we'll just slap a load of metal in your face because we literally can't afford to do it any quicker, and we can't afford to do it so, you still got a kind of nice smile. It's not one that's not full of bloody metal. This government is sadistic. It's absolutely sadistic. They have sucked the joy out of everything in this country except the tacky crap that the Brexit voting morons out there absolutely adore. Oh, I went to Scarborough at the weekend, and I'm sorry, but Scarborough is to Whitby what Llandudno is, what Blackpool is to Llandudno. So Llandudno, lovely little seaside town, pastel-coloured houses along the front, hotels. It's really nice. It is really nice. You go to Blackpool, it's horrible. It's just horrible. And I went to Scarborough, and I just don't understand. They've got these horrible arcades along the front, the beachfront. And then they've got a dual carriageway road with 2 lanes, I think. between the arcades and the beach. And all the cars do all day long is they just do loops. They just do loops around and around in this area. And it's just, honestly, I got all these like souped up, crappy little Ford Escorts with like spoilers on the back, and then you got some idiots going on the bikes, and it's just horrible. It's like, pave it. Just no one needs to get from one end of the beach to the other. Just pave over the whole thing. Few verandas. Get some nice gazebos or awnings out there on where the road is now, and have cafes and things. It'd be really nice. It'd be really classy. If it was anywhere else in Europe, they would have made that classy. But it's not. It's a Brexit voting shithole in North Yorkshire, and they just go, oh well, we'll make it as tacky as humanly possible. England is a very tacky place. Wales, not. Scotland, not. Ireland, not. England, tacky. When it can be. It's like, it is a bit weird that the people find, I don't know, maybe you think I'm a snob for saying this, but I come from a city that isn't particularly affluent, but it's classy. Liverpool's got a lot of cool things going on in Liverpool. We haven't got much money to make things happen, but what we can do, we do, and we do it really well, and we don't make it tacky and plastic and full of bloody cars zooming up and down. Really annoyed me. It really, really annoyed me. Scarborough, avoid. Maybe if we hadn't been there with the kids, might have gone up to the top of the hill to the castle. I don't know, it might have been a bit nicer, but yeah, as is, Scarborough needs a bit of work. Whew. Anyway, Torbay is much the same, Graham. Have you been to Rhyl? Okay, I take it back about Wales. Yes, you can be tacky when you want to be. But yeah, you just go there and at Scarborough, and you're just like, why don't they just do this one thing? Pedestrianise that street. Because the cars aren't going it. They're literally doing loops. It's literally little rev heads doing loops in the... I don't know why I'm talking about this. Got nothing to do with Prime Minister's questions. I'm going to wrap it up soon. But they put a ton of money into the waterfront. Oh my God, really? Woo! You upset with me, Graham? No, I'm not. One Angry Pagan. Sorry, I haven't been responding to your messages because you were doing a whole, Everybody's Dead Dave from Red Dwarf. Sorry. Same as Southend Seafront in the 90s. I don't know about Wales. I've been to Rhyl. Okay, yeah, Rhyl. I was like that in there was like an explosion on the parade in Brookside once, and Sinbad fell into the cellar and he was lost for like 2 days. And they finally found him, and he's in the dark and he's like, I'm wet, I'm cold, I'm miserable. Am I in Rhyl? Someone's making me laugh. England, what is it? Roman, Norman, Tudor, Tory? Does it have a real identity beyond the flags? No, that is an interesting conversation to have, Wes. What is England? If you have a look at the... I haven't posted it yet. I'll be posting a video later on today, which is me talking to Tom Brooks from Durham University. And we're talking about the citizenship test, because he had to take it, and he's given me some of the questions in the test to see if I can answer them. And what was interesting was when they put the test together, it was actually put together under the Labour government at the time, 20 years ago. They went around and asked people what made them British, and people in Wales said, the Welsh language and slate villagers and Welsh cakes and Welsh rabbit. And they went to Scotland and they said, what makes you British? They said, haggis and tartan. And basically everyone came up with things that made them not the same as the other people who live on the same island as us, which is problematic, I guess, if you're trying to find this kind of British identity. But yeah, I don't feel like I have much in common with people who voted for Brexit or people who voted for the Conservatives over the last few years. I just really don't. I struggle. I do struggle. I don't feel like I'm part of the same country as these people. I feel like I'm part of the same country of the Olympics 11 years ago. That feels like my country. And now it feels like the opening ceremony of the Olympics was actually the closing ceremony of the United Kingdom. It really was. It was like, right, that's it. We're done now. That was a big finale. Anyway, Terry from Brookside is in prison for murder. Murder! Someone said. Yep. Oh, bloody hell. That's pretty bad. I'm off to go save my mother from my garden, says Duke Vengeance. All right, take care, mate. We English had our history obscured by the Normans. Yeah, those bloody French Vikings from Normandy coming over here, giving it all that. Only found out last year after wondering what's happening to him. There you go. Tay from Brookside in prison for murder. Bloody hell. That's a bit mad, isn't it? Vendetta, you have to say it in a Scouse. I did say it in a Scouse accent. Anyway. I actually know about that murder that guy was actually being arrested for. Yeah, I won't go into it in the show, but yeah, Liverpool's quite a small place. I mean, I don't know of it because of the show. I knew about it because of actually knowing about the actual murder. I want the red wall back. Vote the traitors out. Yeah, that'd be. I want a red wall. I just want the whole country to be flooded with red. And do you know what? A bit of yellow. And some SNP and some Plaid Cymru and the Greens. Look, I don't care as long as they're not Tories. So head over to Tactical Vote. No. Head over to Vote Tactically at stop. Hang on, I'm going to type it into the chat. StopTheTories.vote. There you go. Go over to StopTheTories.vote for the election tomorrow. That'll tell you who they think you should vote for tomorrow. Who stands the best chance. Just information. That's all it is. Not entirely 100% gospel truth. It's just they've looked at the data and gone, this is probably who stands the best chance of beating the Tories in this upcoming election tomorrow. What's this? I'm going to say Paga or Pega ton is Old English for Pagnon. Okay, I can't say these words. Devonshire is Old English for Devonshire. We have forgotten who we are. Yeah, but also we are a race of Mongols. We are people from all over Europe and all over the world who have come to this island and settled down. I don't think there's any kind of pure British person left. I don't think there ever was. We all, you go back long enough. We all came from Africa. And us whiteys in Europe, we are interbred with Neanderthals. Yeah. So when you get those weird Nazis who say things like, oh, pure blood. Pure blood. Yeah. You've also got to think about the fact that what they think is pure blood is usually a few percentage Neanderthal DNA. Whereas black Africans, 100% Homo sapiens, them lot. They didn't interbreed with the other great apes, sentient great apes that were living in Europe at the time. Anyway, doesn't Wales mean foreigner? Probably. If you go back long enough, I'm sure it all means that. It's always so it's probably not a very nice name for things. It's like a bit weird. When I was traveling and Barbados means the bearded ones. Okay, that's all right. And then Papua means fuzzy hair. But Papua, what? No, you can't call a country that. That's a bit rum, isn't it? No, Ethiopia means burnt ones. What? What does it mean? It means people who are burnt? Why are you calling it that? Well, because, the colour of the... You can't just call a country the burnt ones. What's wrong with you? I should do a whole video on this. Interbred with Neanderthal. You! Says a freckle beauty. Yes. I meant the English in particular. Yeah, I think that the idea of what it is to be English is problematic. I think the idea of what it is to be British is problematic. And one of the reasons why I would quite be happy to see Scotland get independence, Wales to get independence, and Liverpool to get independence from London, from Westminster, from bloody the Cotswolds, and Surrey. Sorry. Don't want you. People's Republic of Liverpool, coming soon. Coming soon to a Labour social channel near you. I realise that my Safe for Work PMQ box is insanely small. And if you're trying to see that on a phone, you might be going, what the hell is that little box in the corner there? That's mad, that Graham. It's obviously a lot smaller than it's supposed to be. Anyway, so it's coming up to 3 minutes to 2 o'clock now. So, to 1 o'clock even. If I could read the time. So it's time for all of us to get on with our day. I'll just say. I can't speak anymore. I'll just say a few of the chats here. We all humans have a small percentage of old DNA. Some saying the separation isn't as clear-cut as at first thought. Nearly bought a house in St. Mellons, ended up further north, but lived in Roath for years. Roath? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Master Templar says foreigner, except where we are first, perhaps, is like going to the American centuries and calling people savages. Well, we did, didn't we? The people in Australia who lived there for 50,000 years, the different hundreds of tribes of Aboriginals in Australia, they were not there. They were fictional people, according to the people who went to Australia in 1788. They declared it terra nullius, which means the earth is empty to do with what you want, and any people that live here that you might bump into, that just ignore them. They don't really exist. Which reminds me a little bit of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where he tries to prove that the population of the universe is zero because the universe is infinite, but the population of the universe has to be a finite number. So any number that is finite, that is divided by infinity, infinity divided by any finite number is close to zero as you can possibly get. So the population of the universe, rounded down, is zero. A bit like that. Anyway, it's religious cults of sorts. What is Anglo-Saxon? We should have a conversation about what is Britain? What is England? What is English at some other point? But I'm going to head over. Nico is lost over there on Discord. So the Discord server, the Labour Social Discord server is now up and running. If you want to join it, I'll be joining it after the shows. Throughout the week after Morning Brew, I'll be heading over there for a little bit. If you want to join me, please become a patron. So you become a patron simply by actually that box isn't in the right place. Oh, that's annoying me. Ooh, my OCD coming out there. Head over to patreon.com/Labour Social, and I'll go and make you a member of the Discord server, the Labour Social Discord community, and we'll be gearing up to actually having some in-person meetings over the next few months in a different pub, I guess, around the country. We'll see how it goes, but we don't want to do that because we want to have our Labour Socials. I won't be back tomorrow morning because Phil Morehouse is doing the show on Thursday mornings, so he'll be back for Morning Brew at 9:30. I just want to say a big thank you so much to all of my wonderful patrons out there, my YouTube members, everyone who's dropped into the chat. The chat isn't there. Stop doing this, Graham. The chat. Depending on what you're watching this on. And we'll have to get on Discord again. Been ages. Yes, Nick and Diff. Let's all get over to Discord. Graham, read my last comment. Do full research into the massive intent of skimming. Okay, I've read it. I'm skimming in the comments because there's so many of them. I'll just spend the whole time just reading the comments. The English common folk are still primary of Anglo-Saxon genealogy. Facts. There you go. Okay, cool. Anglo meaning from the Angles, which is now what, Jutland, is it? And Saxony in Germany. Okay. Yes, the Jutes. It was the Jutes in Jutland, wasn't it? Was it? I don't know. Anyway, right. Okay, so read your comment. Gotta go now. So, Phil will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 for Morning Brew. I will be in the chat, so if you want to say anything to me, I can chat back to you while I'm producing the show. Hopefully, the quality will be a little bit improved on last time when I was in a cafe in North Yorkshire and the internet wasn't bloody working. Is your chat in chronological order, Graham? I don't know. I don't know, mate. I'm just saying it as it's coming up. I have got it set on newest and not top, but yeah. Help. I will see you. I'll see you on Friday. Before then, there'll be a video going up in next probably today. I hope, maybe tomorrow, which is going to be chatting to Professor Tom Brooks of Durham University about the citizenship test that we make people take in order to become a citizen in this country, which is quite pertinent because part of the citizenship test thing that you have to do, you have to pledge allegiance to the Queen, which is now the King. I can't believe the Queen has turned into a king. Trans people turning from a king into a queen makes me sick. You know what? If Doctor Who did that, I'll be on the internet all angry about it. How can Doctor Who be a woman, I'll say? And then how can he turn back into a man? Yeah. Bless. That'll be a no then. I don't think so, Nick and Tiff. I'm just trying to keep up as best I can in these situations. But thank you for joining me for Safe for Work, Prime Minister's Questions. I hope I didn't swear too much. There's only a couple of pence in the swear jar. I think I got away with it. And until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.